Well, for those of you that have followed my work, I would, I would, I'd like to think that an undercurrent or a thread that I like to run down is really the sustainability of everything from our planet to our thoughts, our stories,
Mhm.
and the way in which we engage in the relationships around us that mean the most to us. And I'm excited about this conversation because I know I've got a hunch that we will go to some very thoughtful and purposeful depths of discussion around sustainability, about understanding the power of nature and the way in which we can engage with it that supports all aspects of our lives as humans in relation with others and with the planet. Dia Schwarz, it's so nice to spend some time with you, and we've known each other for a number of years. And what I think about in the times that I have spent with you in the conversations is that they always seem to lean into, um, in essence, how we feel, how we're doing, how we're engaging with the environment around us. And I love that because it always makes me think about the things I probably take for granted in my daily life. And those areas that if I gave just a little bit more attention, I might have a better understanding of how I can really embrace a very chaotic world in a lot of ways and do so from a perspective of health and wellness. So I know we're going to talk about Noot and this incredibly exciting news that you have about the direction that you're taking professionally. But I want to start with this because I know that you grew up on a farm, and I want to understand the relationship that those initial feelings, those initial memories of being out in nature, and what it meant for you as a little girl growing up.
So first of all, super nice to speak with you and to have the opportunity to finally talk about my baby, my life, everything, which comes together now in one name. It's such a big thing. But yeah, thank you for your question. I think for me, growing up on a farm was the best thing which could ever happen. And why is that? First of all, I think I was born as a hypersensitive child, very often dissociated, like totally in my own world, always overthinking, more worried than anything else, trying to please everybody, and just, the only serenity and like for me to really calm down and relax and feel safe, even sounds weird for people who would listen to that and live in huge cities. I felt self in nature. I felt self surrounded by animals, by trees, by everything in nature. So I spend a lot of time just out there, barefoot. And for me, this, all this hype now about nature. Oh yeah, you go out, run barefoot, rebalance, feel the energy. That's something which happened to me naturally because I felt it. I felt if I feel disconnected or I'm concerned or I was worried, I just throw away my shoes and I would run in nature. And you would find me somewhere in the stable between the little calves or the rabbits. And yeah, it's there are these studies out there. You live longer when you have a dog because this and that, this and that.
Right.
You truly do, I
Yeah.
believe so, because it just
Well, good because
calms
we just
me
got a
down.
dog, so I'm feeling much better
Very good, very good,
now.
very good. Maybe costs you a bunch of money too if this
Yeah,
dog's not well
that's a
trained.
side conversation. Yes, it did.
Destroying everything. But no, that, growing up in nature was amazing for me. Also, obviously, just also maybe a side conversation, but it's important to understand. I'm asked multiple times, why are you're vegetarians in so many years? Yeah, I do eat fish from time to time. Why am I a vegetarian? It has so many reasons. Yeah, my grandfather was a butcher, and I really saw the brutal reality. Even though he was not brutal, he tried to do it in the most natural way. But those were my friends. I cannot eat my friend on Sunday. And I just realized also, furthermore, because you initially asked about sustainability, and this all comes together, how long it takes to feed a rabbit, a pig, whatsoever, to harvest, to actually plant the seed, to get the stones out of the soil and planting the seed, trying to prepare the soil, grow the food for the animals, feeding the animals, helping them to not, to without antibiotics and making sure they are okay and all this long journey, then you would kill them and eat them. And that just made me think as a kid. So yeah, growing up in nature also sharpened my senses and gave me a holistic understanding of what sustainability means. And for me, besides that, I love animals. I don't even have to say that. I said, I cannot eat meat. It's just not possible for me. And it's not against meat eaters. It's like my whole family eats meat, but it's a very, even raised on a farm, a very conscious decision to eat meat. And that comes together to so many pillars. We maybe talk about it later. And yes, I enjoyed nature. I enjoyed the animals. There are many things I did not enjoy so much, but that was a very important lesson for my life. And that's why we're sitting here today. And last but not least, my grandma, the witch on the broom. I learned so much about nature and its power and the fungus, the mushrooms, the roots, the plants. Talking about, one of the three pillars of Noot is phytogens. Nootropics, obviously, adaptogens. Where does this come from? It's not just a fancy pantsy thing. We put it out there. It sounds cool and it fits pretty much to the wellness needs. No, it really helps, and it's all there. And I learned that, and I was able to understand and help myself. So when I would, have issues with my tummy when I was smaller, or even my kid, I cured my kid with just basically everything I had in the garden. Not talking bad about medicine. We do need antibiotics from time to time. Sometimes you need it, right? So grateful that we have this science and we have medicine, and we can lean on it. But generally, the answer is in nature. And so
Tell
I
me, tell
spend
me
a lot
more
of
about your
time.
Dia. Tell me more about your grandmother, because I love what you made that comment about sort of the witch on the broom, right? So, and what
I
it made me,
inherited the broom. I have several of them.
but I want to know more about those exchanges and sort of the essence of that relationship and what it made me think
Yeah.
of immediately. And the audience knows this. I've been very fortunate to spend time in different countries across Africa.
Yeah.
And when you are in environments that are not connected to, in essence, the
Yeah.
modern world, you learn a lot about health and wellness and the way in which there are traditions that have been handed down for
Yeah.
centuries um, that work. And it's because there's this sort of visceral connection to the environment, to the planet, and the sort of the plot of land that they live on, in understanding that relationship and the delicate balance. Talk a little
There
bit
you
about
go, the
more.
delicate balance. I don't want to cut you off, but if you do not understand the delicate balance and how you have to treat the environment around you, there is no sustainability happening at all, because nothing can grow out of that if the disbalance is there. Please go ahead, but that was so important. It's the root of the problems of our generation.
Yeah, no, and actually, you were touching on it in different points in time, talking about sort of those that are eating meat, and we understand the balance. And right now, there are, for those that like to sort of feed the beast, as we might say in America, which means I want more knowledge. I'd like more knowledge.
Yeah.
There are so many incredible documentaries and stories out there, and
Yeah.
profiles of people from this, the world of science, health and nutrition, that are looking at sort of, you talked at the beginning about that radar. That's how you have a very refined radar and understanding the world around you, and that can cause challenges, right? When that radar is sort of pinging, and other times it allows you to, I guess, be very thoughtful about the way in which you proceed through life. And I feel like the conversation, Dia, is getting, it's getting, it's coming from a place of of information, thankfully. And we're connecting dots. We're understanding that when we destroy the Amazon for
Yeah.
cattle, that's not a one-time thing. We're destroying it for that one sort of, for that cattle. And then when they destroy the land, then they have to move and they have to knock down more trees, right? Well, what
Yeah,
does that
by
do
the
to
way, it's
our
the same
oxygen
with your
production?
body.
That's
Not
right.
only with the Amazons,
Right.
it's the same with the body. It's that there's a shift. People finally really want to understand the roots of their issues.
And
And
so, and you
yes,
talked about, so your grandmother was one of the, it sounds like a very influential person when you were
Absolutely.
growing up.
Yeah.
Help me. So was it more? I don't know. It's like I feel like I can picture her. I've never seen a picture of her, but I feel like I understand that type of personality, there's a sort of a wonderment about that personality, at least from me. What was that relationship like? Was it one where there weren't as many words? It was more about sort of actions and relation being in a shared physical space. Tell me a little bit about that.
So, since I lived obviously with my parents, but most of the time I was at the farm, which was pretty much just next door. It was not that I always physically lived with her, but I spent the majority of my time there, including my holidays and free evening whenever I had the time. So what was this relationship was, what was that about? It was a very natural thing that you would pass on knowledge, not for the sake of, and that's what I'm missing now. Kids have to study and to learn to become something. I mean, what is about it for my grandma? It was just about who you are now, like to understand who you are. What do you need now? And not to kind of also a lot about prevention. Okay. So, what do we eat to not even get into these problems, issues? So, this relationship was about love. It's a love story. Um, but it's a very natural way of helping the new generation to incorporate the knowledge very naturally. Not, oh, you have to learn this, you have to do that. No, look, this is what I'm doing. It was total normal that we would pick raspberries and then we would do raspberry marmalade. Unfortunately, it was also very normal that when the pig got slaughtered, you have sausage, right? Which I didn't want to eat. But on the other hand, you would understand and you would learn in a very natural way how things work in a very natural environment. And then, of course, there was the spiritual part, which was very normal. Talking about energies, what you feel. So, what you feel when this is happening. Oh, you feel like that. Oh, okay. Or this plant will help you to feel or to relieve or to release. So, that was a very normal thing, which nowadays, when you sometimes talk about this, people would be like, uh, what are you talking about
See,
exactly?
I think that they're starting to see that, and maybe
Yes.
this is from an American or through an American lens. I want to go into a million directions, and I want to talk a little bit about your professional background because now I can start to see this story laying out. Right, so you're a young girl, you're on the farm, you're enjoying that balance, you're starting to understand this radar that you have, this heightened sense of
Correct.
awareness, and I understand that because sometimes it can be a burden, when you can
Yeah, of
feel so much
course.
from the environment. And then you go through life and you have all these professional experiences. And one thing I know about you, not even to get into the specifics of sort of professional experiences, that tell me if I'm wrong in this. My read on you is that you've always chosen areas where balance was at the foundation of what you were doing visually, storytelling, right? Like representing others in the way in which they portrayed what they were doing. It was all about sort of the balance, and that to me is that fair? That is sort of that's the thread through your personal and professional life, sort of that bonding agent between work and home and just yourself.
So this is a question which you might not expect. Like I give you a total different answer that you might expect.
Okay.
I think I've done that for the sake of representing others, building brands, making sure, holistic communication, mediation, all these kind of things, neuroscience background, to distract myself a little bit from that what I was feeling. And it's not a secret that I lost most of the people in my life I truly loved. And that brought me to the situation that I was not in the or the luxurious situation to be able to study immediately, to do what I wanted to do. No, if life gives you lemons, try to make lemonade, and it is And it was not lemonade. It was years and years of survival mode, of mental issues, which I would not even show to anybody, not even to myself, because I gotta be strong, look after my sister, do this, do that, I mean, I was pretty much alone after so I was 18 years old, and it's not about coming up with sad stories, but also anybody who would listen to this interview, no, I'm definitely not the perfect story, or like the anything you would say, oh, this is the life I want to have. Telling you no. I went into that direction from my profession to really make sure I do not look into my pain, because if the pain is deep, you have to freaking feel it multiple times. And if there is no time to feel it, because you got to survive, you feed yourself, you feed your sister, you have loans, you have worries, you have things you gotta get done. There's no time to there's time to grow, and I would always meditate, and I would do my sports, and I would eat healthy, thanks to my education I had, and from my grandmother and my mother as well. But no, actually not. It was
So really
something
what
I
you're saying,
did.
yeah, it's a
I
full circle moment to some degree, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
you were forced to grow up in a way that a lot of people can connect with, where obviously the
yeah,
story elements are different and
yeah,
unique to each person's path and journey.
yeah,
But growing up fast, where it might have been a bit easier to focus on other people with the talents that you had, and now you're able to bring all of that together into
no, definitely.
what you're doing with Noot. And
Yeah,
why I think the timing of this is so important. Like here in America, there is a book. I believe it's called The Anxious Generation,
yeah,
and I cannot tell you how many parents I have chatted with at the soccer fields or
mm,
after school events. Everyone's reading this book because these kids are growing up incredibly anxious. And here's a side. This is interesting to me. So there's a young man at a school that I advise, and I believe he's a senior in high school, and he has developed all for this notion of trying to find balance, Dia, right? He has
yes.
created this product line of basically wearables. So we have these things called these fidget spinners. I didn't grow up with this. Maybe that dates me. Have you ever seen these things?
Now I've heard about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just sit there. It'd be like if you're twirling a pen or a pencil, kind of a
Hmm.
right. It allows you to channel that energy into that device, uh, whatever that spinner as they call it. Well,
Hmm.
he's created these basically bracelets that incorporate in powerful scents that bring sort of calm to a young person, and so that they
Yeah.
don't have to put themselves in a position to feel shame, where they
Yeah.
can just sit in class and it can be around their wrist and they're just sort of engaging with it and it brings calm to them. Now, whether or not that's going to be successful, I don't know. But
No,
the
but it
thought
shows the need,
that
right?
shows a need. And this
Exactly.
is a kid who comes from great resource. This is not about, you made such a great point that, someone might think on the surface, oh, this person is doing really well, or they're living the life. We don't know all the different elements that sort of
Yeah, we do not.
package us together. All right. Tell me about, for those who do not know what Noot is, please explain the name. I love that, by the way. And help me understand the way in which you approached the offering of the different things that you're bringing to market, because I don't want to run over that, because I know how thoughtful you are in the way in which you think so deeply and intently. So help me understand what Noot is, what it isn't, and then how you utilize that to approach the things that you wanted to bring to people.
Yeah, so Noot generally is not coming back to that what you just said, and this anxiousness. It's not about fixing what's broken. It's about building something unbreakable, and that always comes along with consciousness, right? So coming back to your first question, what does Noot mean? It's a yeah, it's a very strong name, also with this, crossing through the O. So it comes, from it's derived from the Greek roots, and nous means the mind, the intellect, the soul, and it's literally representing uh, like the seat of consciousness and clarity. And then you have tropes, the T meaning the direction, or like the turning, and really symbolizing purposeful movement and growth, and then crossing that. and the O stands for transformation. Because first is understanding, like mind, intellect, soul, understanding, what do I feel? Why do I feel it? Where does this feeling come from? Bringing it to my attention, and also understanding, how can I navigate through these emotions and not feeding them to make them bigger, but going to the root of it, and then coming back to the root, like really direct them and turning them into, yeah, to the right direction. So, and that also it gives a purpose, because when you feel like totally lost, and when you feel lost, you feel anxious, isn't it? So the basis of being able to transform something is consciousness and feeling responsibility for yourself. And most of the generation nowadays totally disconnected. They speak 6 languages, they do great in sports, they know everything. Can you just ask them what they would do when they have fever? And don't tell me, don't talk about ibuprofen or whatever that means. Just what would they naturally do? Okay, what is important? What does nutrition mean? What do you need to eat in order to prevent, to help your body? And in order to stay healthy. So Noot generally, and that I want that to be very clear, we don't sell supplements, or we do sell supplements, but we don't sell any magic pills. And supplement per se means supplementing something, right? So it's really holistic wellness should be seamless and science driven,
It's
and
a lifestyle, isn't it?
yeah, and for us, Noot is, you should feel powerful, you should feel yourself, you should take sustainable actions, understand what that means first. It's not such a big deal. You just need to have the willingness to understand a little bit what your machine needs. Your body's your machine. So now I have a beep beep, but I will say it: shit in, shit out, right? That's what's happening. And the new generation needs to be conscious and understand that. So wellness shouldn't be a constant battle. That's why I don't like this. For me, it's almost like a pain. If somebody's like, oh, work-life balance and all these balance, let's stop talking about balance all the time. Let's go to the root. Why do we feel disbalanced? Okay. So, and I think that is very important. And that is also, the reason why we said true wellness is not just always about reacting, it's about preventing. Okay, where does prevention start? With
Right. And
nutrition.
that's incredibly, I think, culturally based, right?
Yeah,
I mean, in the West, it's all about this sort of modular living, to your point, like
yeah,
work-life
yeah,
balance over here. And it's sort of like put a
yeah.
Band-Aid, get a Band-Aid, do this. It does
Yeah, but
not,
Rod, if you ask yourself, if you feel like, okay, I need to balance, like I need to balance work with this, then already something is not okay, isn't it?
you're
Because
acknowledging really that
hello.
something's off kilter,
Yes,
right? It's not,
exactly. So something is totally off. So try to understand, and that's the majority, that there is a huge disconnect between the ego and the fears and everything around you. And it's so loud. It's you're talking over yourself constantly. Rest, sit back, understand. And there is a few minor, tiny things. It's not such a big deal to understand things about nutrition, right? So really, it's true wellness is really about, or Noot generally. You asked me about Noot. Noot's approach is really to focus on the roots and not just on a symptom relief, because I want to have a community, and we will have a movement. We want to revolutionize this industry, and not in terms of, oh, we are the best supplement provider. Yeah, we are great because we do not have fillers, and we are cruelty free. There is no hormones. There is hormones. Sorry, it's not my first language. I hope everyone
it's
can
okay.
understand me. We want to make sure that people understand what fillers do, and everybody would be like, oh, I don't want additives, I don't want fillers. Okay, guys, why? You just copycat what everybody says. Why you do not want fillers? Why you do not accept fillers? Why do we do not accept fillers
So
in our
it's
products,
a great
right?
point. Help me understand, Dia. I, I would imagine that so much of what Newt well, potentially have to do, and you can clarify this, is that there's an educational component.
Hmm.
Because, and like it's so, because of my travels, I've had those experiences where when you leave the US, which is becoming so incredible, these are my words, where the
Yeah.
food industry feels so synthetic
Yeah,
in a
I
way that
know.
we've stripped out the nutrients. And you say, well, why do people have so many gut issues in the US? And then when they travel, or a family goes to Europe, and they'll say, oh, my child who has all of these challenges at home had
Or allergies, yeah.
nothing, or allergies, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so that says to me that at some level, that you are, it's sort of like breaking it down into parts, right? If we're that part of Noot almost has to be by default educational, because we
Exactly.
have multiple generations that don't have a really good relationship with what they put in their body. They don't
Correct.
understand what that looks like. We had this
Yes.
sort of narrative that around space food, or food for when we're at war,
Yeah.
or we have all these
Yeah.
extremes, and it feels like we have been pushed and prodded in
Correct.
ways that don't really benefit us in a customized sort of, you are unique in your own biology and chemistry. So how much of
Absolutely.
this is about education, and how should we understand that? Because there's a lot of noise.
Yeah, no, no, I really like, and that's also my mission. I just feel it's not just a business. I believe it's equipping people with tools for real, lasting wellness and not just short-term fixes. And this starts with nutrition, right? You made a big, like, you opened a big topic of gut health. Most of the people don't understand, and don't understand meaning that I'm like super smart or some others are super smart. It's a fact that gut is the second brain. And how many kids have leaky gut, and parents would ask me, hey Dia, what what you give your kid, all these probiotics. And I said, yes, we do have a probiotic supplement, of course. And of course it helps. You can also cure with supplements, right? It's not that I would just say all supplements are just there to supplement. No, for me, and that is my opinion, it's medicine. And it maybe that's what is important to understand. But first of all, make sure your nutrition is okay and your sleep is okay. And if your sleep is not okay, your metabolism will not work. It will cause problems, and then it will cause anxiety, and then it will cause further issues like allergies or hyperreaction. And this is it's a very sensitive circle, and you can break it so easy. And this is the majority of the anxiety of the people, and the majority of the mental health problems. They are caused by a total different reason. So it's really my passion that we are building a future where wellness shouldn't be a privilege. It's a conscious choice, and you can make that choice, and it's not an expensive choice. It's a decision to feel, understand, and adapt, and to transform. But that also means that you need to invest a little bit of time to learn the basics of nutrition and what your wonderful machine is doing every day for you and what it just literally needs. And I always make this very simple example. Like, we have that in Germany, right? You have diesel, you have normal gasoline. Everybody knows, right, what's going to happen if I put in my G-Wagon out there, I put some like, it's a diesel, if I put some gasoline, normal gasoline in it, I'm going to kill it. How simple is that, huh? So is there anybody asking me questions out here if I can do this, or what is happening if I do that? And is it not a problem? It's just three energy drinks per week. If you feel happy and you think it's a good thing to do it, I'm telling you, it's going to cause problems. And yeah, I love to drink a glass of wine or two. And, I'm not this kind of, oh, you have to work out, don't drink, don't do that. Enjoy your life, but have conscious decisions, and make conscious decisions, and have a fundamental understanding that you can allow yourself to, you know, have your little sweet and enjoy if you like this energy drink, drink it. Is it good? No, it's not. But this paradigm of only if you do this, then you be healthy. No, that's not true. But if you do not listen to your body, and if you do not understand what the body is trying to tell you, yeah, you're going to end up eventually having cancer. You're going to end up eventually having diabetes. You're going to end up eventually with dementia. because you eat statins for 20 years and, this is what I feel. And it's not about making health claims here. It's just what you see out there. And so what do we really try to do with Noot? Giving answers to questions, educational background, but of course also to supplement. I believe I have a fantastic diet, but yes, I take a lot of supplements. I'm traveling a lot. I have jet lag issues. I have stress. I'm still an overthinker. I'm still a super sensitive
Oh, you mean you
person.
can't get rid of the overthinking? Oh, wow. I'm
Exactly.
screwed. I thought I was going to get over that
No, you
myself.
will not get. And my cortisol levels go through the roof, and I have to negotiate where to get my dopamine from. And then I love, to support my body a little bit because there's a lot of demand out there.
Let's talk about the gale force winds and the influencing agents, I'll call them, whether that's, sort of big pharma, big
Mm.
business, where I think we largely live in societies where there's almost this, I just want an answer. Right? I
Yeah.
don't want to know
Yeah.
why. I just want an answer. It's a kid who just wants an answer on a test. It's an adult who just wants to know
Yeah.
which gasoline to put in the vehicle.
Exactly.
This notion of, wow, we should be lifelong learners. We should, take information. And if we pivot because we have new information, well, that just means that we've gained some knowledge, right?
Yeah,
But
and
we
that's what I
do
was
have,
trying to say with disconnect, Rod.
yeah. And
Because if you disconnect, if you say, okay, this is my body and my body has some headache or a leaky gut, but that's not the way you're gonna fix anything.
yeah, there's no long term, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's when people don't understand every time they take a steroid pack or these sorts of things, like what you're doing to
Correct.
your system. And so you're just sort of chasing your tail. Like we all become a bit of a canine
Yeah.
chasing our tail.
Correct.
Um, can you talk a little bit about what I would imagine are sort of, not that they are opponents or foes in front of you, but we're talking about the challenges of big pharma and the
Yeah.
interest, and that, when you're disrupting an industry and or providing what customers, what people
Yeah.
want to build a lifestyle where they can still enjoy the things that they enjoy, but they're
Yeah.
doing it thinking through, right? The holistic element of themselves. Help me understand those challenges in building a company when you think about,
Yeah.
these big entities, and
Mm.
they're incentivized to not really give us, I think, the full story or the full picture.
Yeah, generally, I mean, big pharma became such a bad word. I'm very thankful that we have pharma out there. I have to say that because otherwise, most probably I'd be dead 10 times by now because I need operation. I need,
Right.
as I said from the beginning, antibiotics and so on and so forth. But also, on the other hand, I have to say that pharma, it's a business model. It's not there to cure people. They make money with sick people. And it's also not a secret, right? So I don't think we have to discuss that, what the business model of big pharma is. I mean, at least not you and me. So, but I generally do not believe, or we at Noot, because it's not about Dia here, it's about we and me and my team and everybody who is, in the circle of excellence, working together on that since a very long while. We don't believe in isolated fixes. Like we really try to create solutions that work in harmony, and maybe that's also the difference to big pharma and all these big entities. Really try to work in harmony with the body's natural intelligence and encourage, really, by that also our community or our client or customer to really go deep and understand what the body's trying to tell you, and go in, like, communicate with yourself. And that's not like, oh, this guy is talking with himself, or no, just
No,
try
you
to
make a very good point,
understand.
Dia, that big pharma has a place, right, and has provided,
Thankfully, we
right.
have. I don't want the word big because I don't like this big, but I know what. But
Sorry.
pharma, we need pharma,
Yeah.
and yeah, big pharma is a form. It's an issue, but we cannot just always. I don't like this finger pointing. Oh, big pharma does that to us.
Yeah.
Big pharma doesn't do anything to me. Why? Because I was willing to just study a little bit, and I'm not talking about gaining huge knowledge, just to understand what big pharma could do for me and what I want to avoid. And that all comes back to responsibility and being like responsible. As a mother, I'm responsible. As a person, I'm responsible. And this is what we are lacking of here in that generation or in that world. And we see it everywhere in politics and everywhere. Not here to talk politics, please. Oh my God. No, we want to talk about health. But that is responsibility. And if you're not willing to really take responsibility and go a little bit deeper, you will always just scratch on the surface, but then just don't complain. And you're also, by the way, and it's not arrogance. That's not what I just don't want to get this across. It's not our customer, because I don't want customer. We want the community to really pass on this knowledge, wisdom knowledge, and like fuse science and latest knowledge of science, and even, yes, pharma, whatever is there and what is good and what is needed, with ancient wisdom, because there is a holistic answer. And the more we go into this discussion of separation, and that is good and that is bad, and we have the answer, as I said, I would be that 10 times by now without pharma. So I'm grateful, but on the other hand, very conscious decision.
No, what I appreciate, it's a level set for people to understand. We can't live in a
Correct.
world of either or. We have to understand
Yes.
the word and, because
Yes.
in relation, right? You know, what struck me as you were talking is I would love to understand your relationship. So broad question here, but your relationship with feeling a sense of control,
Mm-hmm.
which translates to self-empowerment, because that's what I get from the approach that you're taking, is that it would give me, if I speak for myself, right? If I'm living sort of within a Noot world, I feel better about the decisions that I'm making. I am not allowing sort of life to come at me. I'm living with the life around me, and that
But it's
gives
a
me.
generational thing. It's like,
Mm,
we are living in a more conscious generation, thankfully, which shifts from reactive to proactive. That's what you're trying to tell me, right? And this is what Noot is about. Please, guys, shift from reactive to proactive, because then big pharma is not an issue for you. All these side effects are not an issue for you. Anxiety will go down because knowledge empowers you. It's just this tiny step you need to do yourself.
well, and it allows you to isolate if there really is if there's a challenge that needs a more significant intervention, right? If so, it
Correct.
was what I'm hearing you say, right? As opposed to, well, let's try this, and you try 7 different things, and a
Yeah.
surgery over here, and a procedure, and you say,
Yes.
well, nothing has really changed, and if anything, I've created more problems.
Yeah.
Right? It
Correct.
sort of it clears the fog.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, so I want to. I know this will be the first of many conversations, Dia, but
Mhm.
because and I said this at the outset, I am, and maybe it's my age, where I'm at as a father, and the things that I advocate for,
Are we
but
have pretty much the same age? Okay, let's discuss this another time.
is
Go ahead.
this notion of advocating for self and for others,
Mhm.
and understanding the power of taking an approach to being sustainable,
Yeah.
right? And in the way that goes. So sort of for to put a bow on this conversation today, talk to me about the sense of responsibility, the pride you feel as a mother
Yeah.
in sort of taking your own legacy and that from your initial conversations with your grandmother and living on the farm, and then
Yeah.
seeing the passion that you have to being proactive as a mom, and how that
Yeah.
has a generational impact. Because I know that means a great deal to you. And I have no doubt that the audience can connect to that want as a
Yeah.
parent to be able to create
Absolutely.
a difference, even when we're not in the room, when our child or our children grow and evolve and build out their own lives.
Yeah. So that means everything to me. My son means everything to me, and actually also that is the reason why I really, and one of the reasons I founded Noot. Um, I encourage my son, myself, my community, but my son, me as a mother, I encourage him to live the change he wants to see in his life, to embrace it, and that's one of the slogans we're having here. And slogans, not just as a slogan, it's a real deep mission. I feel, let's live the change we want to see and not always beg and scream for change. And so for me, sustainability in that context is if we manage to pass on knowledge and encourage our minors, our kids, to take responsibility and live and embrace sustainability within themselves, because they understand finally that they are not separated. If I destroy the environment around me, and I'm not only talking about throwing garbage out of my window or, driving a car which uses too much gasoline. It could be thousands of decisions. No, environment also means my family, means my friends. Like, sustainability is such a big word, and I really don't like to use it in a commercial way. Yes, we are sustainable. Yes, we have sustainable packaging. This is given. We cannot have cruelty. We cannot have unsustainable packaging. This cannot be. It's impossible. But as a mother, I want to be authentic. I want to encourage my son and the generation to be authentic and to understand what they truly need. And I want to go a little bit back for just a few seconds, maybe, because when I originally said I lost a lot of my family members, it was also due to mental health issues. And so big pharma is something, and you maybe felt that it's really triggering me in a way. And losing meaning terrible losses, right? And people who would want to live, and they should live. And there were just no answers, right? There were no answers. These things, they just caused more and more and bigger problems. And if some psychological thing was potentially fixed, the other problem would pop up, and eventually ended that people would no longer want to live. And why am I saying that? That's a very kind of a brutal way to put it out there, but it comes down to conscious decisions to understand what you can do for yourself in order to not end up in this rabbit hole. I want my son to understand what he can do. And not all of things you can cure yourself or with a few plants out there in your garden, right? And that's why I have a very ambivalent relationship with pharma. But I understood, especially if I talk about myself, because I struggled with issues, massive issues. I could fix myself with with answers out there in the nature and living a sustainable life. And that includes removing toxic people. It's not only what you eat, it's not only what you do, it's not only what you consume. We are a living organism. We need to make sure we look after ourselves. And I want my son to be able to feel what it means to protect himself holistically, sustainably, to build resilience, to be able to say no, to be able to say yes. And the generation themselves to find trust back in that ancient wisdom that would help them to just feel happy. And there are answers out there. And it's not only walking in the forest or spending time with your dog. There are a lot of answers out there. Please, everybody out there, try to find solutions first in a most natural way. And that includes looking yourself in the mirror and understanding, what do I feel? And that is what I really do not like nowadays. There is all these challenges and all these big channels, what you were just talking about, Rod, very successful, blaming the food industry for everything, blaming big pharma for everything, finger pointing left and right. No, we're not going to do that at Noot. We are a community. We live the change we want to see. We pass on knowledge. And that doesn't mean only me, as I pass on my knowledge. I think I have significant knowledge. Yes, thanks to my family, the environment I grew up, but also thanks to myself, because I was sitting down, studying, trying to understand, traveling the world, being humble enough to really take on the knowledge and really, really embrace it. And having that said, there's so much out there. we should learn, we should understand, and a community would help us to gain knowledge from everywhere, bring it together, and then really making the world a better place. I mean, this is a very big word, but how can the world be a better place if we have a generation of youngsters who are anxious? The cortisol levels are all over the place. They have problems with sleep. They don't know who they are and how many, and if even male or female. And where are we? We're in a big mess. Let's talk about it, and let's try to support this generation and empower them with knowledge. That is what we're about. Sorry, that was a very long answer, but it's not so easy to talk about
No, it's incredibly important.
sustainability.
The passion is important, and that's what I love about the overlap with my passion around storytelling, because it's
Yeah.
when we understand the relationship we have with a story that has been written for us, with us, by us, we
Correct.
can then look forward and I think choose paths that are healthy, and
Correct.
sustaining over time. And so I
Yeah.
think this is incredibly exciting news about Noot, and it's not, this is my affinity for what you're doing. Is this is not about sort of a collection of products per se in a
Yeah.
broad sense. This is about an approach to understanding ourselves and the way in which we
Right.
can find an equilibrium, and excel in ways that are unique to us and to our story. But continued success, and I look forward to many conversations along the Noot journey.
Amazing. And I want one last thing really to put out there, because we touched on sustainability in so many ways. But sustainability, and first of all, we're talking about health today, like the majority of our conversations about holistic health, right? This is what what it's all about. Sustainable health is about resilience and not just crisis management. And that is very important. And that when I answered your question, what is Noot about? And I just explained the name Noot, but I totally forgot. It's, this is the three core pillars. It's the nootropics as brain boosters, as enhancing of cognitive function, because this is what we need. This is what Generation Z needs. It's about adaptogens. What are adaptogens? These are the nature's substances to help the body to adapt to stress, restore balance. We have this like many times, this word balance, right? Supporting the nervous system, supporting the immune system. And about phytogens. What is the phytogens? Phytogens is literally everything which is plant-based, and it's such a powerful compound of bioactive properties that support your overall wellness. We should just talk about it. And that's not only Noot as a name, is the basis, and also the art of microdosing. You can do tiny things all the time. They make a big difference. Unfortunately, also the other way around, right? That's what we talked about from the beginning.
Right.
This is what Noot is about, a big passion for me. And also my answer, like my really personal answer, my to everything Mother Nature has given to me. It saved my life, and I want to give back. And I might be really in trouble with my social media manager now, because why haven't we talked about our great products? We will do that another time. Yes, we have answers to longevity. Yes, I'm not such a big fan of all this hyaluronic and Botox stuff. So I'd really try to find answers. What else can we do from inside? We work on a lot of solutions like vegetarian collagens, on rejuvenation, longevity, hormonal balance. We talk about menopause. We talk about prostate health, cardiovascular health, and of course also about these general topics. Sleeping issues like insomnia, stress, constant stress, cortisol imbalance, and then mental health issues, right? What can we do and how can we support our body? So yes, that is just a small idea, if that makes sense, what products we do have, because I feel we were talking about a lot about all the surrounding and just scratched a bit on the surface what Noot is. Yes, Noot delivers answers, but first of all, you need to understand who you are, how many, and what you would need for yourself. And if you have the basis, that a supplement would truly help you, because otherwise I would not encourage you to buy any of our products. By the way, not any other products. And that is what Noot is about. And I thank you for, letting me talk. And it's my first interview. Can you imagine? I mean, many years, you were hiding and in the lab and like with your thoughts, and many 20 years and longer. And now, but the last 4 or 5 years intensively. And now it's the first time I'm talking about it. So I'm going to
Well,
be more precise in the future,
no,
maybe less emotional, but
it's so important. I think
oh,
people need
I
to.
loved it. Thank you for giving me the stage for just
You're
talking about it.
welcome. It's important. I think people want to understand where things come from. They want to feel an affinity and a connection
Yeah,
emotionally. And that's where all of these, this is why, as you continue to grow as a team and the things that you bring to market, once that
yeah,
trust is there, it changes the equation, right? The calculus is
yeah.
different because I know what it means when I see that label. I know what it means when I see something on social. By
Mhm.
the way, that social media manager you referenced, they do such a good, maybe this is a storyteller in me, but I sit there staring at your Instagram going, that is a
We
powerful
don't do
image.
anything on Instagram. We don't have products to sell yet
Yeah.
because we're on the countdown.
On the
But
countdown, I know it's
yeah, we're in the
incredibly
countdown
exciting
mode.
news. It's a
Yeah.
story that continues to reveal itself, and I'm honored to spend some time with you and to get to know more about what you're about and the impact that I know you want and will have on people across the planet. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Rod.